13, 2023, Danville City Commission regular meeting. We're going to be led in a moment of prayer by Commissioner Holland, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Cottle.
Okay, let us pray. Lord, I just pray today that you'll give us eyes to see our neighbors' needs. Please help those in Turkey and Syria affected by the earthquakes, that aid will continue to arrive. Help us have ears to hear what the community is saying and always ready to listen. Give us open minds to understand and respect individuals that may think differently than us, and open hearts to serve in a way that strengthens and unites us as a community. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Next on our agenda is approval of the agenda, and commissioners, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented, or if there's any additions or deletions, we'll accept those at this time.
I just have a question. I've heard a lot about the food truck ordinance, and I wondered if that's going to be addressed soon, or should we talk about it tonight? City Manager?
I was going to give you a quick update during the city manager report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for touching on that.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll accept the agenda as presented. Thank you all. Next on our agenda is the first opportunity to hear the public tonight, and the public at this time can be recognized and come forward to speak about issues at this time that are on the agenda only at this time, and you will be afforded up to 3 minutes to present your concerns about issues on the agenda. Mr. Eklund, about an issue on the agenda, you come forward, please. Identify yourself, and we'll give you up to 3 minutes.
I'm Neil Eklund, live on Winterhawk Road. I'm asking information initially on item 11. Is ordinance 2006 refer to the road that goes from the Danville Christian School to the bypass? What is that ordinance about?
So, man, you.
Yep.
Yeah, it addresses the zone change recommendations from planning and zoning for the DCA property proper. We'll refer to it as that, as the common description of the track. It's the track on which DCA is currently sitting. And it's bringing the track zoning in compliance with the actual use of the property.
Does it include the road from their property to the bypass?
It includes access to that road and in that general area, but there's a parcel between their property and the actual right-of-way as I read the map. There's a small sliver
I
track.
don't know what that means.
Well, there's a small sliver track between their property line and the right-of-way that belongs to First Southern, as I recall.
But you're asking if the
Okay.
road touches 2168 is what you're asking, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Well, let me go, assuming that road is what this is about, okay? The best metaphor I can think of to describe that road is a iceberg in the ocean. Iceberg in the ocean, what's above the water level is 1/10 of what's below the water level, okay? I see that road as being that 1/10. What I'm concerned about is the 9/10 below, because once that road is, they have been given clearance to use that road for ingress or egress from the Christian Academy, then who is to say, stop a developer or a property owner adjacent to the bypass, or someone who wants to develop a strip mall or a, gas station along there?
Unfortunately, the zone change has no bearing on whether or not that access can actually be used. That is an entrance put in for the benefit of the properties by the state when the roadway was constructed, and the zoning has no use as to whether or not they are free to open that up. It won't necessarily limit its extension to the south. The zoning has nothing to do with how that is ultimately used in the future per se, other than a higher density zoning can influence the local traffic count right at the intersection. But certainly that's designed to be and set up by the state to be future right-of-way to the south. So that could be a through street down the road. We just don't know that. And that question is not being addressed by the zone change.
And also, I understand these are informational purposes only, but I need to admonish the fact that you are not entitled to hear new information regarding zone changes at this current time. The time for the public hearing was at the Planning and Zoning Commission. So to the extent that further testimony or anything would be acquired at this time would not be allowed for consideration by the commission. So you are required, frankly, to make your decision on the zone change recommendation as the record sits today. So I would probably admonish further conversation on the topic. However, Mr. Eklund is free to still speak, but further consideration by staff or the commission on it should be avoided.
Well, I'm just aware that the bypass, when it was first put in, and P&Z originally was dealing with the issue, Jerry Lieber was the head of P&Z at the time, and he made it what I would consider an impassioned plea that this was going to be a bypass. It was not going to be a repetition of what we have on the south side of Danville. So you're saying, in essence, any discussion of this is really not pertinent to here?
Well, I'm not saying it's not pertinent, but I'm saying that the commission can't consider your comments at this time because the public hearing phase has concluded at the Planning Commission.
Okay.
And so it's not the proper venue for it, unfortunately. However, the city manager was accurate. This is a zoning change. This is not about new roads, bridges, anything to that matter. It is what is proper for the current use of the property. It's currently zoned agricultural. It's not being used as agriculture. It is the campus development zone change is what it was requested to go to, and the Planning Commission voted in favor that it be changed to the Institutional Campus Development District, which in their mind is appropriate. But it doesn't do anything further to that. There's no building plans in conjunction with it. This is simply to approve the current zone change.
Would you recommend that Mr. Eklund, if they start talking about roads, that's a state issue at that point, right?
It is. So the entryways to 2168 is a state issue.
You can,
So in
Contact
terms
those folks.
of, I'll say Boyle County, I know this is for Danville, but it's a closed decision right now that there's no way to stop access.
For a new access to be granted onto a state highway, it requires state approval, not city approval.
Okay.
And so any existing access on 2168 is there because the Commonwealth of Kentucky deemed it appropriate to put it there. So any adjoining property owner can use what is currently in existence without further state approval or city approval, frankly.
Okay, so it's a closed issue. Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else present who desires to speak to items that are on the agenda tonight? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Brown?
I'm Wilma Brown, citizen. I want to speak on the very last item on the agenda, and that is the lease agreement between the city and the Art Center. And that presupposes that the city will own the Art Center. I also want to say before I begin that nothing I say has any negative, this is not a negative comment on the Art Center itself, certainly not on Stephen Powell and his work. So I want to start out by saying that. The taxpayers have a great many questions about this because we haven't received enough information about it yet. First of all, why are you buying the building next to the Art Center? It is already owned by the Art Center. They have completed that contract. It was in the paper that they had bought this building. The Art Center's already bought the building from Serendipity Sisters, LLC, for the amount of $525,000. So the question would be, then why is the city going to buy it from the Art Center at that point? This is not an income-producing maneuver because I think the lease will show at the end of this meeting that you're going to rent it to them for $1 a year. So it's not for income. That particular building is being slated as a museum for Stephen Powell's work and also for perhaps a blowing glass studio. I'm not speaking very well tonight. A hot glass studio. That's a very narrow focus for the Art Center. The building they are in right now, it has a very broad focus that serves the community in a very broad way. When you start talking about a museum, the focus narrows, and then you're starting to use public funds for a very narrow focus. You gave two reasons for the purchase. One, you felt like you were supporting the arts, and you are supporting the Art Center, but they're already using a building that is owned by the city. They're already leasing that for $1 a year. They are also being given help on the utilities at an amount of $30,000 a year. That has been going on for 20 years. It does not show up very well because in the budget, it's a line item part of the budget, and it says museum fund. This year was the first time that after museum fund, it says Art Center, and that's because Ms. Compton put it in. But that you are already supporting the Art Center that way. So you're supporting that particular part of the arts. We have a great number of organizations that have to deal with the arts within the city. You systematically, in the last, several years, have been reducing funding to those organizations and also to most of the public agencies that we have. So at the time you say you're supporting the arts, you are giving a great deal to one particular art entity, but you are taking away money from the other arts. You also say this is part of the downtown master plan, which it is, but it's 2 paragraphs in a 52-page document. And it also is not, the downtown master plan is not a mandate. It's a plan. It's something you can do or can't do. And it is recommended in there that there be a museum for Stephen Powell that, in order to enhance, say, tourism in the city. But why isn't Center giving some money? All of this money is coming from either from the city, and I understand they're going to ask county for the money too. Why isn't Center giving money to this? That's could be part of the
Ms.
downtown
Brown,
master plan
you've,
also.
Reached your 3-minute limit.
Pardon me?
You've reached your 3-minute limit.
Well, I appreciate that, but Mr. Eklund did too. And I'm not speaking just for myself. I'm speaking for the taxpayers, and they haven't had a chance. And so, with respect, I'd like another minute, if I could, please.
All right.
Thank you. I'm wondering if there is a better place for a museum. I'm wondering if there's a better use for this money that is coming into us through the federal government. I just want to hear more from the City Commission as to why you're spending this money on this particular project when there are many projects in town perhaps could use the same money too, not just art projects. But the public just needs more information, and we haven't had that yet. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else to speak to the commission on items on the agenda tonight? All right, thank you then. Next on our agenda is, we have a CVB appointment. Chair would entertain a motion. Jeff, you want to speak?
If I might address you guys on this issue, we are going to need to pull the candidate that was mutually agreed upon by the city and the county and the chamber due to a residency issue. So we'll need to revisit this again.
Okay. All right. It is a joint appointment. Is there a motion?
They pulled the nomination.
Oh, he said he
Yeah,
pulled
you
it?
don't need a motion, Mayor. It's just
Oh,
withdrawn.
he said he pulled it?
We'll circle back with their staff and try to identify what the alternative is.
Oh, well, I thought she was here because she's ready to accept. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't get that message. Okay, let's go on to the next one then. Parks and Rec Committee reappointment.
I move for approval of recommendation to reappoint David Kemick to Parks and Rec, just to sort of keep him out of the way and out of trouble.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
I agree with Kevin.
I have a comment. I think David's great, but I'd like to see a few more 20 and 30-year-old citizens with children in the Parks and Rec Department and be on the committee in the future as well. A little balance of some of the younger parents and some of the experience.
Do you know some?
We could put out a notice. I could work with Evan also to put out a notice to the parents. Yes, yes.
Good. We've tried for a long time.
Well, just to help her out, I shouldn't do this, but FYI, we had offered another vacancy to a very young-minded citizen, but that person turned us down. So, Okay, let's go on. All those in favor of this reappointment, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you all. Next item is planning and zoning appointment. Chair will entertain a motion to accept the appointment of Mr. Nolet.
Nolet. I'll make a motion.
Dan Nolet, right?
Dan, know that.
Okay.
Who- He's fulfilling the term of Vince DiMartino.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this appointment? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. And thanks to those two guys for their willingness to serve. Okay? Senior Citizens Board reappointment.
I move for the approval of reappointing Gail Lewis to the Senior Citizens Board.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or comments about the reappointment of Mrs. Gail Lewis to the Senior Citizens Board? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, the motion carries. Thank Ms. Lewis for her willingness to serve. Item number 5 is approval of the minutes of the previous meetings on January the 23rd and February the 3rd. Chair would entertain a motion.
I'm going to move to approve the minutes for the regular meeting, 123, and the special called meeting on 2/3. Just to also make a comment, I was not at 2/3.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any unreadiness, any questions, additions, or deletions? If not, the chair would call for the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you for approving those two sets of minutes. Item number 6, Resolution 2023-02-1301, Tree Endowment. Professor Bo Weston is here to present that to us.
Thank you. I'm Bo Weston. I'm a tree cheerleader. And as you know, we have been raising money for now 10 years to plant trees. We planted about 350 trees in Danville. And we now are ready to create an endowment to maintain them. And we've been working on this for a year, and Mr. Dexter drew up a good document for us, and I've been sent around to all the relevant parties. And we've tweaked it and retweaked it and retweaked it, but I think we're at a final form. The crucial thing in it is the endowment will fund a part-time person or part of the time of someone that would be hired by the Extension Service in the summertime to water the trees, to check on them, to make a website about them, to plan future planting. And what they need is to use the city water truck. And the city has agreed to this, all principals are agreed to this, and it was just a matter of getting the document worded in a way that everybody could agree with. And I think the version you have before you will do that. I went to the district board of the Extension Service, and they have approved a similar thing, with a couple tweaks since then, but I think they will approve this as written. And then the Community Foundation of Louisville, working through the Wilderness Trace Community Foundation, can create this endowment that'll start generating funds. And even if we work now, this summer, the Extension Service can hire somebody to start doing the tree maintenance. So I request your approval of this agreement, and then at a point, we could get, I think, the mayor on behalf of the city to sign it. Someone on the district board will sign it on behalf of the Extension Service, and then we'll be good to go.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-02-1301 tree endowment.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
Thanks, Bo.
Thank you for all your work.
All right, thank you all.
Yeah.
All those in favor of passing this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, resolution carries. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic, thank you all.
Item number 7, Human Resources Year-End Summary. Mr. Randy Boyd.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We'll try to keep this brief.
Wait, what did you say?
Try to keep it brief, but this is just our year. What I like here, this is just a summary of our year 2022 activity with our workforce, and then also just kind of what our directives and our initiatives are for 2023. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through this. Just real quick, these were some of our key topics or objectives that we completed in 22. Among those was obviously our year 2 compensation, as well as our healthcare benefits strategy. We made a lot of changes last year for the better, and this is just a brief overview of some of the things we did, including safety, establishing a safety committee and training program, which we'll talk about more here in just a minute. As far as 2023, these are some of our key focus points. Obviously, right at the top of the list is our year 3 compensation program or proposal, which we're in the middle of a compensation study right now, along with focusing on safety training as well as some legal policy updates. And again, this is a fluid document, so as we go through this through the year, this could change as we get into some other projects and identify additional needs for the city. As far as the compensation study, I mentioned that briefly. We are in the middle of that study currently, working with Hannah Resource Group. We are hoping to have the study completed projected by the middle of February. Right now, we're on target to meet that goal, and staff has a goal of bringing Hannah Resource Group in once we finalize the study to present those to the commission. And the study objectives were to benchmark our current salaries, use it as a guide to determine what our year 3 adjustments are. And then also, since we did the last study, we had created a lot of new positions. And so we wanted to have those market data to make sure those classification plans align where they need to be. Mentioned briefly, just we're currently working with Sturgill Turner on our policy handbook. There's several legal policies we're going through. This is a slow process. Truthfully, we're probably a little behind on this where we want to be, but our goal is to have all these policies updated and presented at probably a commission meeting close to the beginning of the fiscal year for review. Recruitment update, just real briefly, these are the positions we're currently in the process of interviewing for. You can see we have 6 different positions, some key positions. And we'll talk about recruitment, retention here in a minute, but we've been very successful with a lot of the changes that we made, especially with this challenging labor market, getting a good pool of applicants for really all of our positions. Safety overview. Again, we talked about this briefly, that we established an internal safety committee with some of our management team, and we've outlined a good safety training program that's really broken out into 4 components that you can see there. And we're trying to utilize our HRS system along with HSI to kind of make a blended training program. And we're in the process of rolling all that out in 2023, just to drive safety culture in the workplace and across all levels of the organization. Just real quick, as far as workplace injuries, we had 20 injuries in '22. That was up from 2021. But the thing about it is our severity went down. So we had a frequency up, the severity went down, meaning what that means is basically a lot of our injuries, the majority of them were minor medical or first aid only injuries. Our lost time days were down. That was good. We actually only had 3 lost time days. Most of those were due to waiting on evaluations from the doctors to see if we can do transitional light duty employment, which has been really successful for us because any injury we get, it allows the employee to stay engaged in the workplace, healthy, and also continue their full level of benefits. And so I've got to give props to our department managers and working with us on these transitional light duty assignments has really helped us with mitigating safety in the workplace. And this is just a quick bar chart of showing how our injuries are. You can see, obviously, our injuries are gone down. Light duty days went down significantly, which that's a result of our frequency, or excuse me, our severity going down with our injuries in 2022. And we hope to continue to drive that down through all of our safety initiatives that we're currently working on. This right here is just a quick overview, just to kind of show you where our employment is, where the city's investing in its employment by sector. You can see, and we talk about Parks and Recreation quite a bit, you can see that there is a big group of part-time employees in there. Again, those hours vary by position, but we do have increased that operation quite a bit. And then you can see right now we currently have 69 hazardous duty employees. Our full-time headcount is 172, which has grown over the last couple of years with investing in new safety personnel as well as creating some new classification that I mentioned earlier. And then this is just our tenure for our employees. You can see we have pretty much a split between seasoned employees. A lot of our employees are in that 0 to 4 years. We talked about that. These are critical times for us when it comes to recruitment in the labor market, especially as you see a generational shift, which we're going to start to see a lot of that in the next couple of years because we already are some known skill employees that are going to be retiring in the next 1 to 2 years. They've already verbalized that. And again, it just reemphasized the importance that we continue to be competitive in the market to bring in new skilled workforce for all sectors. And then this is a really good snapshot of our turnover for the last 3 years. You can see, and we talked about this last year, in 2020, our turnover, we had 27 employees leave. 21, it was down to 12. 22, it went down to 8. Safety personnel, we saw a pretty significant amount of turnover in 2020 with police personnel. You can see the actions that the commission and the city have taken through compensation, through benefits. It has really mitigated that. This right here, again, is just a bar chart of those turnover. But what this data does not tell you is that while our turnover has gone down, we also have to keep in mind that we had a challenging labor market. They call it the Great Resignation for a reason because people were not staying at jobs, they're leaving. Regardless of private, public sector, it was really hard to retain employees. So I think taking that aside, the pandemic, I think our turnover really has been, we've reaped the rewards of some of the initiatives that we've made, but we have to continue to, move forward and kind of continue to push through to recruit and retain a solid workforce. And then this is our safety personnel. I mentioned that earlier. This was, you can see that first year in 2020, that going back 3 years, we had quite a few police turnover. You can see we've had a couple in fire. Fire turnover went up a little bit this year, but myself and Chief Simpson, we've been talking about a couple of different things that will help us on that end. But even with that, we still have weathered the storm very well considering what other employers are faced with right now in the market. And then this is just a snapshot of our turnover reasons. I really look at that section in blue there where it says another job. Those are the things that we can control. Obviously that, and we have retirements are out of our control. But the one area that we can control is our culture, our compensation, and so that percentage of that pie chart, we hope to continue to reduce. And so that's really, most of our resignations are usually typically personal related that we are out of our control. But again, we got to position ourselves to replace those positions in the market. So I think what we're doing internally, we are controlling the variables and factors that we can with the actions that we've taken through all the policy changes over the last couple of years. And then this right here is just a snapshot of our new hires. So this is another indication that we've been strong in the market. While we lost 9 positions in '22, we actually hired 20 positions. So that means we've been able to fill all of our vacant positions pretty successfully. We created a lot of new positions, whether, we added some positions in safety personnel in both police and fire. And then we also, created some new classifications in some other areas. And this just shows that we've been able to continue to fill those positions in a timely manner. Not only fill them, but fill them with quality applicants. And so that's really just a quick snapshot. And like I said, we'll continue to push through with these 2023 objectives and come back with summaries of those as we work through it throughout the year.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Any questions for Mr. Boyd?
I just want to thank city staff for reducing turnover, and, that's a huge cost savings to the taxpayer, so thank you.
Okay, the next item is Resolution 2023-03, Peel and Holland contract renewal. That's 02, I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. So last year, the city put an RFP out for a new health insurance broker and consultant. The city landed with Pill and Holland in partnership with Johnson and Pullman. That partnership has worked really well for the city. We enjoy that partnership. They're very engaged with our employees, and so we're just requesting renewal of the contract for the brokerage service, which is a total of $50,999 annually. And just to clarify, that rate change is the same as last year's contract terms.
I would move for approval of a resolution 2023-02-1302.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of passing Resolution 2023-02-1302, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Resolution carries. Number 9, Resolution 03, IT surplus. Ms. Rader?
This is just some more IT surplus that they're asking to put on Gov Deals to sell.
Okay. Any questions or comments, Ms. Rader? If not, we'll entertain a motion to allow these items to be surplused.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2023-02-1303.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank
Just for
you.
the record, I'll be selling those out of the back of my truck.
I was going to ask, can you tell people where they could go to see those items?
I believe it's govdeals.com,
Okay.
I think. That would be a question for IT.
Okay, let's go on then. Resolution 2023-02-1304, Tree City application. Ms. Rader?
This is just seeking the approval for you to sign the application for Danville to be a tree city once again.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of the Tree City application being signed, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution carries. Next item is the first read of ordinance number 2006 involving 2170 Shakertown Road. First reading. This is the DCA property. Chair would like to entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the first reading of ordinance 2006.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Floor is open for discussion. Any discussion, comments?
Mayor, I'd ask the clerk to read it into the record, please.
Yes, sir. Okay.
This is the first reading of ordinance number 2006, an ordinance changing the zone from AG agriculture to institutional campus development ICD for approximately 24.051 acres, more or less of real property, located at 2170 Shakertown Road in the city of Danville, Kentucky.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Chair is open for a motion.
I'd like to make a quick comment. Thank you, Counselor Dexter, for explaining to the citizen what's going on here.
I just have just a question. In the past, and it may have changed, but are the minutes generally in the packet from planning and zoning's meetings? To go along with the ordinance, I guess?
They generally are.
Okay. That's okay, I'm just asking.
I'm used to waiting until minutes are approved before sending them over, and I think you guys do things differently here, so I'll be including them.
Okay.
There was a change instituted some time ago, when I say that, within the last several years, by which developers, sometimes seeking zone changes, became frustrated with the process of having to wait the extra meeting. They wanted the referral to the commission prior to a reading of the minutes at the planning commission. So we started including proposed minutes, or the planning commission started including proposed minutes that hadn't been voted upon yet, but put them in the packet for your review, and then action prior, so you wouldn't have a lag of 4 weeks between approval and that. But we'll have those in the next meeting packet, and
Okay. Thank you.
so you can actually read them.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, chair calls for the roll call vote on the first reading.
Commissioner Cottle?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Mayor Atkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Holland?
Yes.
Commissioner Saris?
Yes.
Thank you all. Next item is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We'll start out, we didn't have anything separate to follow up from the last meeting that's not addressed already on the commission meeting agenda. Important dates: February 22nd is the City Day Night with KLC and legislators. We've got that on your calendar. We've included a brief attachment that has a schedule of the folks that we're meeting with. And so if you have a particular individual you would like to participate with, let me know. Otherwise, we'll be assigning some meetings. As you'll see, some of the meetings are occurring at the same time. And so we will assemble, have a full group of people assigned to each meeting. And so we'll, if you have any questions on that, let us know. And then we'll schedule how we're going to travel and the meeting time, et cetera, later in the week. We'll confirm that for you. February 23rd, we are shooting for the first budget meeting. Remember, we talked about having KLC help us with the visioning session with the commission. Remember, last year, we had worked through a list of goals and objectives as staff that the commission had set up for us. Last year, what we found in the budget process is most of those had been addressed. So we all agreed, and I'll ask you to recall that we need to really revisit that from its foundation. So KLC will come and help walk us through that beginning on the 23rd. We'll start at 10 and go to maybe even 1. Again, we anticipate Tad Long or someone with KLC leading that. I won't lead the discussion. I will participate with you how you want me to. So let's all look forward to that. The follow-up to that meeting then will be March the 9th, 9 a.m. to 12. So those are your first 2 budget meetings. And what we will do is finish publishing the full budget calendar, and we'll send that out via email by the end of the week. We didn't have a chance to write down that on a physical calendar, all the dates today, but we'll do that for you hopefully tomorrow sometime. February 27th is the next regular commission meeting here. March 17th, we have sent out the public invitation to the Economic Development Regional Opportunity Summit scheduled for March 17th. That will occur at the Performing Arts Theater, Poole County Middle School off Cunningham Way. We're excited about that opportunity for the public. At 9 a.m., we'll have Doug Griffiths as our keynote speaker. We'll talk. He is the author of the book, 13 Ways to Kill Your Community. I think we made everybody a copy available for you to read. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at that, and I think we're excited to have him come and challenge us as a community on what we can do better. We have invited the folks that are around us, that are partners with economic development, whether they're there in our political jurisdiction or not. Folks will be invited from Lincoln County, Casey County, Marion County, Washington County, Mercer County, Garrett County, and also some from Rockcastle County. So we hope to have a strong attended event, and we will really start to communicate that outwardly as the week goes on. But we just want to continue to talk about that in public. That 9 o'clock portion is going to be really interesting. So, and the facility can host quite a few people, so public's welcome to attend if you want to. And anybody certainly listening or at the meeting should find a seat if they want to come. Downtown streetscape, still ongoing. Project completion scheduled for the first of this meeting this week. Downtown master plan's ongoing, work on it. The fire station across the street, demolition surveys are underway. Again, budget calendar, food truck ordinance. So staff is in the middle of administering that ordinance and the application of that ordinance. We sent out the initial mailers for compliance with that ordinance. And as we did that, I think we were anticipating some folks calling in and asking about compliance, and then us working through that process. I think about 60-plus applications were sent out in the mail. Not all of those have called in, and there's been quite a bit of public discussion that has led to some confusion, both with the mailer, the deadline to the mailer. The deadline was really to get you to call in to make you aware, to start getting you into compliance. So we have invited a couple of the food truck vendors, and others are welcome to come that are in that industry. We'll be meeting with them Thursday morning here at City Hall at 10, and we will continue to walk through that ordinance. If there's some confusion in the ordinance, if there's some language that we recall as that was implemented, we discussed publicly that if there's changes need to be made, we can certainly bring those back. And it was a model after a couple different cities, including Lexington. The idea is that a vendor in the form of a food truck does have some safety concerns. At the time, bricks and mortar businesses said, well, we pay property taxes. They're not paying you for those services that you're providing them. So this was an effort to kind of balance that. So you do have the annual license that is more than $25, more than a normal business license, but it's meant to fund the public safety inspections and the oversight that the citizens should concern themselves with. And so we'll work through that this week and try not to make it more than it should be in terms of just the implementation of it and the appearance of it. I think a little bit of that snowballed on social media, and so we'll try to cover that effectively and continue to work through that with our partners, which is our community.
Hope that'll be done with an open mind by everybody, and, us included, so.
Yeah, we certainly are aware of that and hear it. Yeah.
When was it effective? When was the ordinance passed?
I don't remember the exact date. Ashley, do you remember that?
20,
We did the second reading at the last meeting in December.
yeah.
In December? Okay.
So it has rolled out in the month of January, and so that's why it's now a hot topic. But we'll cover it, and we'll meet with folks and try to work on the implementation. So that's an update, and So we'll just go from there, and if there needs to be something brought forward to the commission, we will try to make an effort to report back to you at the next meeting, the success of that, or the changes that we may want to propose as a result of that. We don't know. So we'll just go through that process and learn with everyone else.
So Thursday morning's meeting is with a couple of invited food truck vendors, but you just did open it up just tonight to anybody else who wants to attend.
Yeah, and we'll continue to try to reach out this week to try to invite others. I know we have 3 or 4 phone numbers. We've contacted the ones we've had, and we'll continue to try to get word out. And we've invited the ones directly. If they were aware of other vendors, they're welcome to invite them. Yeah.
And where will the meeting be? It'll be here?
It will
at-
probably be in the training room in the basement,
Okay.
depending on how many shows up, of course. Yeah. The next thing is there some discussion that came out, and I want to be clear, the development, the distillery development on Lancaster Road, there was quite a bit of confusion that was embedded in some discussions that we had towards the end of the week. Some of those were unhealthy, and what we would ask that we allow those discussions not to become political footballs, that they steer back towards the administrative process that that helps us do good development as staff, not necessarily me, but different departments throughout the system. So, for example, there was quite a bit of dialogue about a fire suppression system, sprinkler system, or other alternative. That's not a city decision. That is not a local decision, to be clear. And that was cast as if the city was. And so that's a building code issue. The state building, as those plans are being reviewed, provides feedback. So just please keep in mind, as we comment on things like that, sometimes we can give the impression that we do have local control when we really don't. And so we've tried to contact the owner, the developer. We've talked to their contractor today. We've talked to folks around it, tried to provide some clarity. We've worked with the fire chief. He participated on a conference call with Mr. Francisco. And so we appreciate his patience in giving us a couple days to get our arms around the problem that he identified. And so I think we're making progress, and we'll continue to do that. And I just want to say that we have tried to address what we heard towards the end of the week, and we'll continue to do that. Any questions?
Thank you for that update. Any questions to the city manager?
I was wondering, I know we don't debate during the public time, but I think that Ms. Brown raised some good points that we could probably clarify in some way that we can present to folks, because I'm sure if she has the question, a lot of other people do too.
I think the question, and I talked to Ms. Brown, full disclosure, today for a while, and she, so I have more, I guess I've heard more of her feedback directly than she provided today, perhaps even. Just to speak for the group, the reason the ownership question came into play was really the ARPA money existed. It preserved, the ARPA money expenditure has got a deadline on it. Without a competing project, the original intent was to discuss it with broadband. I think the state funded some private companies to do broadband, expand broadband. So that took a lot of pressure off of that money for the city commission. We have a lot of utility projects funded with ARPA money on the books. Frankly, we're going to have a lot of work in front of us as staff to make sure we get to all of those projects according to the schedule of the money, of the funding. This seemed like a good use of the money since it was provided to the local government. This was an eligible expense for the money. So then how do you protect the money and make it as long-lasting as you can? If the original discussion was it was a project, putting money towards, frankly, towards renovation doesn't give you full access to the money in the future or full claim to the money in the future, per se, if the building is solely owned by the Arts Center. The City Commission directing us to pursue a contract to acquire, or advising us to pursue that contract to acquire the property was an effort to protect the tax money in the future. It gives you an opportunity to own the structure so that if there's ever an abandonment of the structure, then it's an asset, and the asset then can be managed by the city commission in that it's on Main Street, and you can then determine what the highest best use is. So it's meant to react to the request for the need, and then how do you protect the tax dollar if you're going to invest in it or going to participate to support the initiative? And that was seen as the best balanced approach to do those things. You know, we are impressed by the Art Center's ability to assemble comments from so many possible donors, and encouraged by their ability to trend towards fundraising. And so we hope that they will have announcements soon to shore that up so that it can be better understood in the future, and you can see additional outside support. I think the important thing for that project for them was to see initial city and county, and I know the county is going to take up the discussion some tomorrow. We don't know what they will do, but certainly it's a good something to talk about, and I think that private dollars will follow where the public invests, and I think that was the message carried by the Art Center, and so we hope that happens, and certainly though encouraged by their effort.
Part of that fundraising too, question that Ms. Brown brought up was where's Center in this? I think we're going to see Center involved here before too long. So,
Other comments or questions for the city manager's report?
I just thank the city manager for addressing all these concerns we've heard from the public, and I just appreciate just the hustle and, addressing everything. Thank you.
Not relevant to anything that's been said tonight, I think it's important for me to say the following. I appreciate all the concerns and emails and calls and whatever that I receive as a member of the city commission, who happens to be the mayor. But I'm still setting the bar very high, and that is that I thank you for the question or the concern, and then I also want you to be aware of the fact by a written statement that I'm sending those concerns to city staff, to city manager, our attorney, our engineer, or whoever it might be, rather than I trying to answer your concerns or your questions. I think it's really important that I say that, and I want to say that for the benefit of the community, but also for the benefit of my fellow commissioners. Okay? Thank you.
and saying that, Mayor Atkins, I appreciate that. I think all of these commissioners up here will send those concerns to the city manager. Don't expect us to make any changes or do anything. We're one of 5. They need to try, the city staff needs to try to resolve it before it gets to this board.
Okay. Hearing
Mayor,
nothing else
if
from
I
the-
may, I think I should jump in here at this point to use this as an opportunity to say this as follows too, and just in response to how we can effectively govern and operate. I think it's important, both in respect for the city manager form of government and just the board organization and efficiency of government and the uniformity of the message and the process employed by the city, that commissioners all respond to public comment with a listening ear, and then a deference to referral by the city to the city manager, or a direct conversation with the city manager, who will then appropriately place that comment in the respective department that it needs to be addressed. What we have discovered is that oftentimes the amount of information that is being flooded into City Hall and handled by various departments is so voluminous that even you as commissioners don't yet have a full grasp on what may or may not have been addressed. And therefore, sometimes we see potential conflict when commissioners respond in a manner that says that something will be dealt with in a certain way or will be addressed, when in fact it may have already been addressed. And it may have been a decision that that individual who's speaking to you may not have liked. And therefore, they get conflicting messages, which then comes back and puts the city in jeopardy for then giving two answers, one from an elected official and one from City Hall from your city manager form of government. So with that, I like to remind Commission from time to time that you speak collectively as a body through this chamber at these meetings. You have no authority to outside of this commission as a body. And furthermore, you have no authority unless you have two other people who agree with you on any given vote. So I say that not to admonish, but simply to remind in our form of government, no commissioner, not even the mayor, possesses independent power to bind the city in any form or fashion. So there are cases and cases and lawsuit after lawsuit when commissions in this form of government don't abide by the proper channels. And that is listen. You will never make a mistake as a commissioner. If you listen to a complaint or an issue, you address it to the city manager and take no position other than, I hear you, I'll refer it. And then if you don't like the response out of the city manager's office, you bring it up during commissioner comments. You deal with it publicly, not on social media, not on a lunch dinner or whatever it may be, but simply in this chamber. We will control the way our processes are employed in an effective, efficient way that's transparent for the benefit of all if we handle it in that manner. So with that being said, I will exit the soapbox and just remind us all kindly of our best processes to employ moving forward.
I didn't mean to take you there, but I did. Next on our agenda is an opportunity to hear the public for a second time. And if you wait to be recognized, we'll do that. But you can speak to us at this point on things that are not on the agenda. And again, I want to remind you that we have a 3-minute or less presentation. You have not been recognized. Go sit down. Oh. You're just going to take the stand. Go on, Mr. Hunt. I'm playing with you. Go on, Mr. Hunt.
I've been sitting too long. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Danville County African American Historical Society. They are asking to see if the exhibit at Center College can be used in a room at Jenny Rogers, especially the lunchroom. So if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. The exhibit is We Was Here. So the African American Association, they are requesting, see if we could have space, maybe in Jenny Rogers, to put that exhibit in, especially around the lunchroom walls. It's on the wall in the center, so.
Do you have a specific time period, or what are you, I'm excited about the request, but do you have a specific time period?
Well, it's supposed to be out of center sometimes in May, about the 1st of May.
Okay. Yeah, my concern would be is that if you put it there and we're still having 31 Little League basketball, they have access to the cafeteria because that's where they sell their concessions.
Well, we want it on the wall, around the wall.
Are you going to permanently put it on the walls?
Just like it is in the center.
Oh, okay. All right.
If not, do you have a room where we could store it at?
After what you've heard us discuss tonight, we'll refer that to the city manager for you to talk to the city manager about.
Yeah.
I like the concept. Yeah.
My idea is to get it out to the public before it goes to the city. Him. I understand. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just making the request. I want y'all here too.
It's a great request. You're talking about the speaking apparatuses as well as the pictures?
I don't know if Senator's gonna release that or not.
Oh, okay.
I know all the, everything's around the wall.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if they're gonna let them hear the voices of the people that made those interviews.
Wow. That would be cool.
And the interviews are not over. We're gonna do one on black farmers.
Whoa, okay. Okay. Well, thank you, sir. Anyone else desiring to speak to the commission about things that are not on the agenda? Yes, sir. What's your name?
A few weeks ago, I mentioned the ARPA projects we're doing this year. We got, next couple of years, we got 10 of them, and one of them we've already got underway. I just wanted to mention it tonight. We're working with the Chamber and with the Danville Boyle County Development Corporation Workforce Committee to offer hospitality training for frontline workers. We're gonna have 2 sessions on Monday, March 27th. One is from noon until 3, and the other one's from 4 to 7. We're bringing in a professional hospitality trainer to lead these sessions. She'll do about 2 hours of the session, and then the last hour, we're gonna have representatives from Pioneer Playhouse, Wilderness Trail Distillery, the Dollhouse Museum, Perryville Battlefield, the Norton Center, McDowell House, and the Art Center to come in and spend a few minutes talking about their different venues, so the frontline workers who may encounter visitors will have a little bit more knowledge about these locations if they've never been there. So if somebody says, what can I do in Danville, to their server at the restaurant or somebody at the hotel, they'll have a little bit more information about that. So it's free training. We're going to provide lunch or dinner depending on when they come. We'll just have to get everybody to register in advance. So that's what we want to get the word out as we're doing this. And registration is now open. They have until March 22nd to get registered so we can have ample space, seating, and enough food for everybody's coming. People can register by calling our office at 859-618-6667, or they can email me directly, Kendall@historicdanvilleky.com, and just need to provide their name, contact information, and which session they plan to attend. So we're pretty excited about this, and we're already talking about doing another session possibly in the fall or for sure in 2024.
27th of March, 12 to 3, and
4 to 7.
4 to 7. Okay, now I got a very important question for you.
All right.
The 5 of us would like to sign up for that training. It'd be very important to me for us to be a part of that hospitality and the knowledge about how to sell our community.
Okay.
All right?
Might have a quorum.
As long as we're not talking about city business, though.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Right?
remember.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Right, Mr. Dexter? No, that'd be great. I'm excited about that, yeah.
Yeah, Kendall, if there's a time slot, I'll talk to the city clerk about it tomorrow. We may try to send some city staff over.
Oh,
Okay,
most
that'd be great.
If that's
definitely.
okay. Yeah, definitely our front windows, and we need to participate.
Okay.
Yeah.
They did something like that when the first vice presidential debate was here that I attended. It was pretty informative. I mean, it's, tell you things you wouldn't normally think about.
Right,
But,
right.
So, I'm glad you're doing it.
27th of March. You have something else for us?
Nope, that was it.
Pretty good. Wow, other
That's it.
questions?
Yeah, I want to thank you for responding to something that's been out there for a while, and Jeff knows that, so I'm glad that you two are coming together on it. There was a speaker at one seminar that said some of your best advocates are serving you right at the front desk of the McDonald's or the
Yeah.
Hampton Inn.
Yeah, and our theme is everybody's a community ambassador, because anybody that
Wow.
you talk to that, is from the town where you're visiting can kind of make or break a deal for you, or put things in a good light or bad light, so. All right.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else desiring to speak to the commission? Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Jonathan McWilliams. I'm
What's your name?
Jonathan McWilliams, AKA Captain Frank. See a lot of customers here. Appreciate
go.
that,
That's right.
first of all. You guys have basically touched on the food truck issue tonight. Earl was gracious enough to set up a meeting with some of us on Thursday morning at 8 o'clock to try to get some of it resolved. And I appreciate that. That's why I wanted to come here instead of get on social media and directly tell you, as a food truck owner, probably one of the elder statesmen food truck owner in Danville, that I really hope whoever needs to do it can readdress this. I'm not going to go into everything that I think is right or wrong with it. I just would like to see it come to some future discussion, maybe some amendments. Basically the 300, it costs a lot more than that. there has to be, most folks don't have $1 million automobile policy, which this requires. The general liability of $1 million, I understand. That's pretty standard. I go to a lot of festivals, events, and that's a pretty standard thing. But the automotive for $1 million, I don't really understand. And that personally, it's cost me right at $1,000 with the permit and the insurances. And, and I can't speak for the other food trucks. I don't know what their situations are, but I'm imagining it's costing them a little bit more too. So, like I said, I'm not coming here to be negative or ruffle any feathers. I just hope that we can address this in the future and maybe tweak it a little bit for the good of the community, because the way it stands now, there's not going to be a lot of food trucks that are going to want to come to Danville. So I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and thank you for coming to the right place.
Yeah. John, I said we wouldn't comment up here, but I did on the previous one, and it's an interesting thing where we're at. I can remember being on the city commission many years ago, and Bridget said, we're not charging food trucks anything, and it's not fair. So we've gone to zero to the ceiling, so we'll find the middle of the room somewhere.
Yes, ma'am. And you are?
Lee Lopez.
Yes, ma'am.
I emailed all of you all.
Lopez. What's that? Okay, go ahead.
I just want to speak. I did post something on social media, but I didn't do it derogatory. I just was, how I was feeling, I was just wondering if anybody else was feeling the same way. So I posted, is this permit aggravating any other food truck owners? Because it is me. And I just did that because I wanted to know, am I the only one that's feeling like this, or was everybody? So I wasn't trying to diss the city or, if anybody else posts anything, I don't know. But as per what I posted, that's my only intention.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and you all know and I hate speaking in front of people, so I'm sorry. I'm a little anxiety.
He gave his business name. You want to give your business name?
Casa Mobile is my food truck.
Okay, get that advertisement.
But I do have a brick and mortar too, in Harrodsburg. And as a brick and mortar, I don't have an issue with food trucks. And the property tax issue, most of the time wherever we're setting up, I'm sure they pay property tax. So, if they're requesting you to come in, they've paid their property tax. So, that kind of balances out. And you're also not open 7 days a week, 10 hours, I don't know how many hours you're open, but just, and the issues that he mentioned, as far as, it's not just the $300 fee, it's several other compiled.
Are you going to be at the Thursday?
I am, yeah. I spoke to Earl today. I told him that time worked for me.
Good.
And I would much rather do that than talk up here in front of everybody. But I didn't want y'all to think that I was saying anything bad about the city on social media. I just wanted somebody else to tell me if I was crazy for feeling the way I felt, or if other people felt like that too. So
You should have called me. I'm taking care of that for you, right?
you're gonna tell me I'm crazy, right? No. But yeah, thank you all. And I know that this isn't easy. Not involved in Danville as much as I should be, just because our brick and mortar is in Harrodsburg. I'm on several boards in Harrodsburg, so I know that it's not easy. So appreciate you all. And I'm done before I
And thanks for
cry or
bringing.
break down in front of everybody.
Thanks for bringing your backup with you too.
Oh, you see that? She's my bodyguard. Thanks,
Well,
guys.
appreciate you for coming. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Terry Harper, and I'm as scared to talk in front of people as this young lady is.
That's all right. We're friendly. Terry Harper, okay.
As much as Jonathan is the old guard of the food trucks,
Yes.
I'm starting a food truck. I retired from a factory and starting a food truck this year. And on top of everything else, and I appreciate Earl, setting this meeting up. But this is blindsided when you say, okay, we have to do this and this and this. And then the new stuff comes out, and like he said, I'm going to be out an extra $1,000, which is, as a brand-new person, I started cooking for friends and family. And they said, man, you need to do this. We need to do more. They said, do a brick and mortar. I'm like, there's no way. I'm not doing that. But we can do the food trucks. And food trucks are good for Danville. it gives you different variations on food that you will never get in a brick and mortar. And you find the people in the food are passionate about what they do, as opposed to going to McDonald's and a kid flipping a burger that don't care what he's getting. You know what I mean? So thank y'all for listening to everybody, and just give us
Tell us the name.
T. Wayne and Smokies.
Oh, okay. All right.
If y'all know C.J. Lynn, he's the athletic director at Danville. He's my partner. So he's Smokey and I'm T. Wayne.
I wouldn't say that in front.
He is my best friend. He's one of my best friends. I'll say that all day long. Him and his dad.
I've known him forever.
Thank you.
Well, again, thank you for your comments and coming with us. And you're available for the meeting Thursday morning?
Absolutely.
Great, okay, good. All right. Well, that's how it's supposed to work, and we hope we'll get some resolution at that meeting. Won't get everything you want, but at least you'll be heard, okay? Anyone else? Are you kicking me again? Oh, somebody else, right?
It's Donna.
Donna, okay. Well, let's go on then. All right, at this point, next on the agenda is commissioner comments, and I would advise us in lieu of the time to have very few. And Jonathan is bringing his hot dogs for them, man. Oh, that's a good thing. All right, great. That's a great answer. Commissioner comments?
I'll be quick. I will skip my food truck comments. I really appreciate everybody that came, because this is how we do solutions, so thank you. And the appropriate way. Fox 56 did a really nice piece on Mayor Atkins for Black History Month back on February 2nd, so made us proud. And Black History Month 5K, 1K, you can walk. Please come. It's going to be February 25th at 10 at Millennium Park. It's going to benefit the Salvation Army. They have a Facebook page, and you can also sign up. Look up.
10 o'clock?
Run Mom 10 gets you 10% off. There's still time to sign up. So February 25th at Millennium at 10.
What'd she say? Run Mom what?
Run Mom 10,
Oh,
10% off your registration.
I've already registered, but okay. I get my 10% back? Okay, all right. Okay, great. Well,
That's all.
other commissioner comments? Let's go back to the piece he talked about. Because I don't know if they realized what they were doing, but Frank X. Walker was in the piece, and he mentioned Danville. You know, so sometimes you just go with the flow, and it was a great 30-minute presentation for our community. They didn't pay me for doing that, but it was took 2 hours to get that little 2 minutes in. That's kind of weird, though, but that's all right. Other comments? If not, let's move right. We need 5 minutes?
No, it was just, I was gonna say, acknowledge his heart month also.
Okay. Oh, okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think, thank you for bringing up Frank X. He's left a little link on a book for my grandchildren, and
Oh, man.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to remind everybody, as I've done before, that sometimes things look gloomy and it gets a little rough, streetscape, et cetera. But if you can just imagine when Center's done with their project, the streetscape's done, even Bob Allen, if you go to private industry, Danville's looking good. Danville's looking good. Be proud of it.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is payment of the bills. Chair will entertain a motion to pay the bills.
I'll move to approve the bills list on 213 in the total of $1,421,759.30.
Is there a second?
Mayor, the bill list was updated. You all have an updated version,
That's
so just
right.
make sure.
Is
It
that
should be
form?
1,422,532.
Okay.
I do know that they added
That
one of-
was
let-
my request to immediately do it right at the end. We're working on the Streetscape Grants program. I'll give you guys an update next month, but one of the vendors that had been approved had been left off. And so since they had been waiting, they hadn't made it in before the last bill list. I wanted to get them in, and it was brought to my attention like at 5. So I got that one on.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose who it was or not, so.
Yeah.
No, that's not. So the new amount is $1,422,532.58.
Yes, and I think, and there might be a slight dollar amount difference than the previous one because the grant was a straight 10,000, but my accounts payable staff is newer, so she had accidentally included the water refund bill in the operational total, or vice versa, I can't remember. So it was $700 and some, but we don't typically include that as an operational, even though it's a check we cut, but that's a refund from their water bill. So just a few slight housekeeping tweaks.
Thank you for helping our downtown businesses. They really appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? If not, entertain a motion to pay the, let's create a motion then, right? All those in favor say aye.
Mayor, we need a second on that, please.
Yeah.
No.
Second.
All right, thank you, sir. All those in favor of the amended bill list being paid, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. Ms. Compton, you're next, the insurance premium discussion.
Yes, so just for the benefit of the public, as I'm sure you all are aware, the city levies a tax on all insurance companies that have business within the city. So essentially, every insurance company that owns or provides a policy located within the city limits, they are assessed a 10% tax on that insurance premium with the exclusion of medical insurance. So your home insurance, your car insurance, et cetera. We are in, and this is a longstanding tax. It was last updated in, the entire rate was updated in 2020 with a slight update to the marine rate, which will go into effect next year. But as it stands now, the current rate is 10% across all policy types. I am currently proposing that we move forward with a slight reduction to 8%, which is what it was in 2020. My understanding is that the intent with the raise in 2020 was to generate, about $300,000 to $400,000 in elevated income. And we have since exceeded that significantly, mostly due to the significant increase in individual premium rates. So a lot of sources are saying that between 2020 and now, insurance premiums on individuals has risen approximately up to 15%, which is very high on an individual level. I did some analysis, and I think reducing the rate would not impact the city in a big way, in a way that would be detrimental to our revenues, and in a way that would impact what we can spend on. Based on my analysis, if you aggregate those over the years and project that to the future, you're talking, assuming that the rate was, average at 10% versus 8%, you're looking at about a $70,000 difference. Even if the difference was the minimum and maximum at the two different rates, you're looking at about $400,000. And I think considering our budget size, we can absorb $400,000 when, at the end of the day, it would significantly impact for the better your citizens. To the other point also, let's see, our rate, chart is really hard to see. The colors were not ideal, but that's kind of how it's formatted. Danville, Boyle County, it sits at 10%. It's at the higher range of comparable cities. Other cities that are similar to us in either population or budget size in their operations are at 8%, like Richmond, or even lower when you think of which Bowling Green's a lot bigger than us, but they're down to 7%. Some folks are down to around 5%. I am suggesting that for It would not go into effect till after the new fiscal year. We have to submit this to the Department of Insurance prior to it changing. So it would go into effect if you all proceeded with an ordinance update. It would go into effect July 1st, 2023, this year. But I am suggesting that we lower the insurance premium tax rate to 8%. What questions do you guys have?
Yeah, the key cities on the chart is, for me, when I look at it, is Richmond, Frankfort, Somerset, and I just lost the other one in my head. Richmond, Frankfort, and Somerset, and Elizabethtown. We're higher than all of those. That move was probably a little bit high when you compare us to the cities that we're compared to. And to confirm, we've looked at this with Ms. Compton as well at length, and certainly recommend to pull the number back down to an 8. Understanding that and the reason I wanted to really talk was the inland marine column, it should be 0 and will be 0 effective, I think it's July 1st.
Yes.
So certainly, we think that is a strong recommendation from us to pull the number back down to 8% across the board, with the exception of inland marine at 0.
So, and just to clarify, I think inland marine covers a couple different things. In the ordinance, it was 4% for everything but like airport, airplanes, as the tax incentive.
Yeah,
just
it's
for that.
4%. I said,
Yeah.
I keep saying 0.
Yeah.
It's actually 4%.
So we had we did have a reduction for them and some incentives for them, but it was at 4%.
Yeah,
And
so-
that will go into effect.
Yeah, the inland marine is your airplanes.
Any questions?
So certainly any reduction is great for our community. Sounds to me like you didn't want to give the piggy bank away, though. We need to approach, yeah. In other words, didn't want to drop from 10 to 5.
Right,
Incremental.
exactly.
Yeah, incrementally, we want to look at the numbers. So we like to look at all the rates that we have. We felt like when we looked at this insurance rate, it was a little high compared to other cities. And so going into the budget process for us, this is the rate that we see that probably should be adjusted in the downward direction. And so we're going to go through the budget process then knowing that, which is why we want to ask you this early on before we get into the revenue projections and revenue discussions and all those other things. Frankly, this is just a little bit high, and so we want to lower it. We want to recommend lowering it, and I hope you all can see the benefit of that. And then we'll go forth with the budget process and deal with revenue then, with this as a known.
No, but it might affect your home insurance policy. So there you go.
Don't listen to him. The chair needs a motion on this item, insurance premium discussion.
I move for
Deduction.
approval of the recommendation to lower the insurance premium tax from 10% to 8%.
I'll second it.
And just for clarifications, upon your affirmative vote, we'll prepare an ordinance amendment for your next meeting.
You like that, don't you? Any other questions or comments? If not, chair call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Compton. I have been kicked and bruised and whatever, so the chair would like to entertain a motion for a 10-minute recess.
I will second.
I didn't make the motion. Wait a minute. Oh.
All right,
Is there a motion for a 10-minute recess?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Don't kick me anymore, right? Session. The next item on the agenda is item 15, Resolution 2023-02-1305. Is it Hubert Excavating Change Order Number 4?
Yes, sir.
And Marshall, you have the next three of them. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This is in regards to final change order number 4 for Hubert Excavating for the Pebble Road Phase 2 Waterline Extension Project. This is going to be a net credit to the city of $3,857.18 from the original contract price of $1,162,167.68 for a revised contract value of $1,158,310.50. So this is a credit back to the city and a closeout of the project.
Wow. I know we'll get a motion on that one real quick, right?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments? It's always good to get money back. So all those in favor of accepting this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Marshall, the next item, 06.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an agenda item in regards to change order number 2 and the final change order for the Kate Drive Corporate Drive Waterline Project for Hubert Excavating as well. And this is also a net credit of $4,046 from the current contract price of $205,973 for a revised contract value of $201,927.00.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there a motion? Another refund back to the city?
I'll make a motion to,
Second.
All right. Any other questions? Unreadness? If not, all those in favor of taking money back, say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Marshall, you're the next one for item number 07.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This is a little bit of a different agenda item. This is in regards to change order number 6 of the ongoing wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 construction activities with Smith Contractors. Change order number 6 is if you look at the breakdown on the sheet of paper, page 1 of 2 in the back, change order number 6 breakdown. On paper, it reads as though it's a net increase of $125,000, $125,181.16 as an increase to the contract amount, but it also includes $105,851 of a DPO deduct. So what that boils down to is, if you remember when we initially let the contract, we had a couple of change orders early on in the contract, one of which was a $4.9 million plus change order to take certain items out of the contract in order to save taxpayer money. And you do that typically on a large contract of this magnitude for items like, water valves, generators, sump pumps, duct material for the duct work for the AC units. Those type of materials that you would typically pay a 6% sales tax on, we pulled all those out in that initial change order number 2 early on. And this is back in 2021. So fast forward to now, we had a couple anomalies that occurred in delivery of some of those same products. In doing so, Smith Contractors was cordial enough to take those items back in onto their side of the fence from a contractual standpoint, but as opposed to the city paying taxes in that process and negotiating back and forth with those vendors as a third party, they agreed to just take those back on their side of the contract, but yet pay for those taxes on the city's behalf. So either way, the city's not out taxpayer money. So it was just more of a formality on paper in a paperwork type approach to the contract to get those on their side of the contract and make sure that we keep all the bookkeeping in order. So if I haven't convoluted that conversation enough, that's what I was trying to explain.
Nice. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the city's not out tax money. So all that being said, so if you go to that page number 2 and you look at the change in contract price, you start to do the math and you come down through here, you add all that up. So you go all the way down to that last paragraph, the DPO change order number 2 summary. The last sentence of that summary in all actuality, with the execution of change order number 6, which is this current change order number 6 that we're asking for, their overall project will experience an increase of only $19,380.65 to the contract.
Okay.
And those, again, are for items that ended up slight changes in delivery. As you experience delays still with a lot of the COVID issues that's going on in the market, you get delays and you get some material increases. So we try to minimize that anytime we can. So we took some items out of those list of items. So those elimination of coatings, that's a $30,000 credit back to the city. City concessions to accepting certain overhead doors that were not originally ordered, but we knew that would work for the project. That's another $15,000 credit to the city. So we went through an exercise to try to minimize costs all the time.
Well, thank you for that effort. Saving money for the city. Maybe Donna might get paid this weekend, right?
I move for approval of Resolution 202302-1307.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, resolution carries. Thank you, Marshall.
If I may, I've got just a couple items to hit here before I stop. We've got a couple items that we want to bring to the public's attention because we're going to put some press releases out.
Oh, okay.
And I'm assuming this is okay, time to do that, Stephen. Just a few items. We want to remind the customers that all utility bills are due the 10th of each month. So we just want to reinforce that with the customers. If you don't, it was bi-monthly last year, so we switched to monthly billing, and sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle. It's the 10th of every month. We want customers to be aware that credit card payments take 24 hours to post in our system, or until at least the next business day to be applied to their account. So we want customers to understand that if you pay with a credit card online, it's not going to show up day of. It's going to be as long as 24 hours to show up in our postings. The city has begun accepting payments for water bills, again, at Farmers National Bank branch locations in both Junction and Perryville branches only at the time. So we have some customers that are wanting to drop payments off at other branches, but we're trying to restrict that, at least for now, to just Junction and Perryville. That way, we don't have a random bill payment at another branch that's not accounted for in our bookkeeping system, and that customer doesn't get credit for paying their bill at the end of the day. So we want to make sure that those are restricted to only those two locations, at least for now. And we appreciate Farmers for doing that, and there's no fee charged to the customer to do that. So. And we were just trying to provide a way for those customers to remotely pay for their water bills instead of having to drive all the way into town. That was the gist of that.
Yeah.
And thanks to the mayor for pointing out some possible payment assistance programs for the customers. The city is currently investigating possible financial assistance programs to help customers with their utility bills, a couple of which are Family Services Association and Senior Assistance here in Danville, and then findenergy.com, in which you put your zip code in there, and it populates a list of multiple bill assistance programs in the area. So we're going to start propagating some of that information out to the public in the very near future too, and have some of those flyers placed either here on the table or here at the water office. Just a reminder, and this is something that's not really discussed, it's kind of a behind-the-scenes discussion. We have a lot of sanitary sewer debris that builds up in our sewer system. Sometimes customers tend to flush certain items down the toilet that causes backups to the pipes in the sewer system that don't need to be flushed down the toilet. And some of those could be diapers, facial and baby cleaning wipes, pouring their grease down the sink, rags or towels. We've had customers that actually flush towels down the sewer system. Certain feminine products, cigarette butts, expired medication, so on and so forth. So what does that do to the sewer system? It tends to cause backups, and it causes backups either in their own home, or it could be a neighbor's home, or other homes throughout the system. So we're trying to stress to the customers to refrain from, please don't flush those type of materials. If they're disposable in the trash can, please put them in the right receptacle to do that instead of flushing it down the toilet. And then one more item. Right now, we send out a monthly delinquent notice to those customers that are delinquent on their utility bills. We're going to move to further discussions about going away from doing it as early as maybe next month. Right now, we'll send out a delinquent notice to a customer, and then very close to that, those customers are going to be getting their upcoming water bill, right? So if there's a delay in the mailing process or whatever, sometimes those two either end up right on top of each other or crossed, right? So it can be difficult at times for those customers to understand whether or not what it is they truly are to be paying for their water bills. So in efforts to reduce those issues and to save the city money, right now it costs about $2,500 to $3,000 a month for the city to send those delinquent bills out. In lieu of doing that, we're going to go to an automated calling system for our customers, so that if you are on the delinquent list, we will be automatically sending out calls to those customers to let them know that, hey, you're currently on the delinquent bill. You won't be receiving a payment of a paper bill reflecting that, but you're going to get a call that says, you owe a delinquent amount to the city of Danville. Please contact the water office to get that amount. And that way, it reduces confusion to those customers. Now, we also are trying to be really stressful to those customers to provide us the best phone numbers that they possibly can. Without that, it's really difficult to reach out, not only from this standpoint, but from just general communications. So we just want to start those conversations.
So the
That's great.
Public Service Commission, they're the ones that require the PSC-regulated utilities to send notices. We are not governed by the Public Service Commission for our direct serve customers, and a lot of other municipalities are not. Doing the monthly billing, it just is creating confusion. Simple as that. And we have experienced at a higher rate, particularly over Christmas and January, and everybody was generally aware of the high number of complaints we got. We had, just to be frank, 1,000 customers on the initial cutoff list for January from December. And so we're trying to simplify that communication, and this is a step in doing that, even though Public Service Commission regulated utilities still will send those. So like KU will still send those. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to. And so we'll create a standard. We'll live by that standard, meaning the phone calls, people that we hear from really appreciate those calls, and they're coming in and really getting that done. We've heard positive feedback from that. So again, get the phone numbers out there as accurate as you can. If a person is talking to you about their bill, suggest to them to call in and make sure the correct phone number is on their account. That will help them. It will help us reach out to them from time to time too. So thank you all. And if you feel something different, just let us know, and we'll try to figure that out.
Well, you and Marshall gave me the best lesson I've had 2023 about the bill is due on the 10th, and the cutoff notice is not sent out until what date was that?
Which date were you?
It's usually around the last Thursday of the month.
Yeah, almost like the 28th,
So we
27th
actually
of the
give the
month.
customer the remainder of the entire month to pay their bill.
Yeah.
Before we actually physically have personnel go out to turn them off. And we actually go a step further too, like Earl mentioned, we may have 600, 700, 800 people on a delinquent list that are technically on the cutoff list, and we'll send the automated calling system out to those customers if we have their phone number. And it's not uncommon for that number to be dropped down all the way into the 150 to 160 range. Wow. So, and that's a more manageable number for our personnel, but also it's a service to the customer too.
So with the monthly billing and with the improved billing process that we have with our automated meters, the ability to send 11,000 bills out has gotten really consistent. So we know, generally speaking, those are going to be mailed out on the same day or within a single day every month, the same day, right? So that helps. That consistency helps. Everybody's on the same 10th. Everybody is on the same cutoff day.
Yeah.
So that's helping a lot.
Yeah. And my cutoff date for January, I found out, came well in advance of my February bill. So I still had like a 2-4 week window in between all that stuff. So that was good.
Yeah, we've tried to expedite all that as best we can to allow, full disclosure to the customers, to keep them informed.
Well, when I went back and tried to explain that to the person that did the inquiry, I was like, Mr. Atkins, are you sure? I said, well, yeah, but, okay, let's go on. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Josh, we're waiting patiently for you. You've been waiting patiently for us, I guess, right?
Yeah. Thank you all, Mayor, Commissioners. Usually I see Marshall with change orders on here, and they're always credits, and then I get change orders, and then I'm asking for more money. So this resolution is for change order number 3 for the downtown streetscape project. It's in the amount of an increase to the project of $46,649.59. There's a few assorted items included. The main item is we actually just a couple of weeks ago got approval from KYTC for our traffic signal plans that we had sent to them. So there were some changes associated with that, some electrical changes, some signage changes and striping. So those are included. And then we're also going to go ahead and purchase curb for the west side of South 3rd Street, the Farmers Bank side of South 3rd, kind of across from the center bookstore. We're planning to add that to the project. That wasn't in the initial bid. And the only real material with any kind of lead time on that section is the curb. The remaining would just be concrete. So we're going to go ahead. I think that's $7,500 for the curb for that section. We'll go ahead and get that ordered. And we were thinking too, we're going to keep looking at the budget. If that's not something we end up doing as part of this project, we will one day do that section. So we'll have that curb stored even if we don't end up including this project. So like I said, the total amount is $46,649.59, and we would recommend approval of the change order.
Chair needs a motion. Change order number 3? Yes.
I'll approve resolution 2023-0213.
Second.
Probably moving second. Any questions to Josh? If not, all those in favor of change order number 3, say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Josh?
Josh, let me interrupt you. And I'm going to put you on the spot, and if you don't want to answer me, just tell me not to. The Memorial Plaza, do you have a schedule on that yet, or are you still trying to?
We don't have a schedule. We kind of talked to some folks about what it would cost. We have material for that project stored here. We've ordered the tile and the pavers and different items that were in the design. I think we're going to try to do that work in-house. We have city staff in the Public Works Department that have the ability and experience to do that kind of concrete work. We were actually just discussing that last week about meeting here pretty soon to kick that off this spring. We might try to bring in some part-time temporary help with Public Works. Earl and I haven't even talked about that, but just to kind of offset that labor that we're going to lose to that project, because that's probably a couple-month-long endeavor for our staff. But the pricing we were getting from contractors to do that work was pretty outrageous when we were looking at it. So this is something we're trying to do to save some money on that project. And we're just fortunate to have folks on our staff that can do that. It's pretty specialized work, and they've shown me pictures of what they've done. It's pretty impressive what they're capable of. So we're looking at starting that here in the next month or so once the weather starts to break. And that will include, we have the Memorial Plaza here. We have streetscape continuing past the fire station down to 5th Street that we need to complete, and that'll be included in that work as well. So that should be starting up here probably in March.
So you're thinking maybe by the 1st of June when the rest of the streetscape is finished?
That would be great if we could do that. That's the goal. We'll say that. We'll say that's the goal. I'm not going to put we will work towards that goal. We will
Earl did that to you.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on.
Okay, the next item, we bid out our maintenance contracts, our annual maintenance contracts on February 2nd. We opened bids. Tonight I have for you all the cemetery maintenance bid. We received one bid from Cutting Edge Lawn Service in the amount of $168,000. And their bids included in your packet. Cutting Edge has been our contractor cemetery for, I think, 16 years is what when we look back at it. So they're very experienced in our cemetery. The work's been satisfactory. We have a good relationship with them. When there are problems, they're quick to respond. So we're comfortable going with that contractor. This is a significant increase over previous years. 2 years ago when we bid out, it was $87,000. But we were anticipating this kind of increase on our maintenance contracts due to fuel prices. Just the amount of mowing they've had to do the past few years has been more than we traditionally had seen. But knowing that, and also we've kind of analyzed what it would take if we brought this back in-house, and we could not do it anywhere close to $168,000 if we had to bring on, 3 or 4 full-time staff to do this work, which is what it would take. We would be significantly over that amount. So we're recommending award of the contract to Cutting Edge Lawn Service.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I move for approval of resolution
09.
22021309.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Josh, please continue. See, give these folks up here a break, and they just slow down, don't they?
Yeah.
We had one bidder come back.
Yes.
So are there none out there that just are interested, or?
I think, I'll be interested to see how this goes in the future. I think Cutting Edge has had it so long, I think they've scared off other bidders
Okay.
from bidding on this contract. But I think at this new higher number, if folks had known that this is where the bid was going, we may have had more action on this bid. But I think in the future, we may see some more activity. I think next year we'll rebid it and revisit this and see what happens.
And the contract goes from,
It's March 1st to March 1st.
Okay.
So even in the wintertime, this contractor is responsible for coming in and helping us pick up limbs and different debris if things like that happen. So,
okay.
and just to update on we should have at the next meeting, should have our mowing contract and our landscaping contract. Our mowing contract, we received 2 bids. We're still analyzing those bids to see which one is the better bid to go with. And then we didn't receive any bids on the landscape contracts. We put that back out again. We're reaching out to some folks to make sure we get bids on it.
I wonder if people are having trouble getting labor has had an effect.
Well, I think, and I think it's been a long time since we got multiple bids on these. I think traditionally we've gotten one bid. I mean, we tried to advertise these a little more and get them out on our website and different places. We tried to put them out. So, to get more bids so we can keep our prices know that they're good prices, right? That's how you know you're getting good prices when you get multiple. So we're going to keep working on that. The next item is a grant application. This is a KYTC TAP grant application, Transportation Alternatives Program grant. We had initially met with the Trails Group and we're looking at completing the Connector Road Trail, and we were fully headed that direction. And then we sat down and started looking at the application for this grant, and that's not really what they're looking for this year. They're really looking for couple of the items, questions they were asking were, how will this project replace vehicle miles traveled, and questions like that. So they're looking really for mobility connections. They were asking for distances to grocery stores and distances to restaurants and things like that. So they're really looking for projects that are going to connect people to places that they can travel on foot or by bicycle. So we kind of backed up and real quick looked at the Boffman Avenue sidewalk project. We discussed that a few months ago. Our engineer was working on the initial survey and cross-section layouts and everything, and I reached out to them and said, hey, how quickly can you get me a cost estimate for the project? They had just completed the surveys, so we were able to look at those and see if we have the right-of-way to complete the project, and we do. For the sidewalks on the north side, just the north side. The south side, with the utilities in the way and the grade falling off away from the road, we would have to get right-of-way on that side. But also, then if we just do the north side, that fits in the kind of the scale of a project they look for with these TAP grants. So that would be the total project budget for the sidewalks on the north side of Boffin would be $500,000. This grant requires a 20% match. So they would ask for a match from the city of $100,000, which could be budgeted out of the Municipal Road Aid Fund. So we're requesting approval to submit the application they're due at the end of the month.
Chair needs a motion on this one.
I'll move to approve resolution number 2023-02-1310.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, Josh.
40 years in the making, thank you.
Are all the residents on board this time, or?
So when we had the public meeting, we had, I would say 90% wanting the sidewalks. We've got a few folks we need to work with out there to make sure they're comfortable with what we're going to do. I think that's just keeping them in the loop and keeping them involved will go a long way. Because this shouldn't be a real disruptive project to the property owners out there, especially because, like I said, we should be able to work within existing right-of-way. So we're not going to need to get right away from anybody. We're not going to be encroaching right up on the front of their houses. So this should work well. And we'll have another public meeting. They're putting some drawings together. We were planning to have another public meeting here soon because they had completed the surveys and we're putting the drawings together. Probably in the next month or two, we'll have another public meeting out there and let folks see what we're planning to do. Last, I've got the FHWA RAISE grant application, which RAISE stands for, get this right, Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, is this program out of the Federal Highways Administration. This is a new grant program. This program is for rural communities, which we qualify for that, is $1 million minimum project budget. So we kind of thought big on this one. I listed there some of the things we're looking for with these projects: safety, environmental sustainability, quality of life, mobility, community connectivity. There's a list of things there. So we've kind of started looking at the South 2nd Street all the way from Martin Luther King to 4th Street, which is pretty much the full extent of South 2nd Street. Just kind of a rebuild of that street, all the way up from drainage to curb and gutter to sidewalks. We'll look at ways to incorporate bicycle facilities. We'll widen the sidewalks out to 5 feet. So we went through that budget pretty quickly with our street design, Palmer Engineering. They looked at it, put a quick budget together for us. They estimate that project budget to be $3.5 million, which was actually less than I thought. I kind of initially threw a number like 10 million at it, but I think I was thinking too big. So they came back with $3.5 million. This grant requires a 20% match as well, which means the city, if awarded, the city will need to commit $700,000 to the project, which also can be, municipal road aid funds can be used for this project as well. But $700,000 to get the 2nd Street kind of brought in, modernized, especially some of the intersections down on the southern end, Circle Drive, Dorothy. Those intersections need to be kind of rebuilt. The grades changed, make those safer. Those are some of our higher crash areas in town. So this is going to be a great project if we're able to get this grant. I have been told though, with this program, we will probably need to apply multiple years before we get one awarded. Louisville got a grant similar to this. It took them 3 tries to get it. Lexington got one. It took them a couple tries. So this is a big program, a big project that we'd be going after here. But it's got to start with the initial application. So.
Wow. That would be amazing to get that one done. Wow. Need to have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-02-1311.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor say aye.
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 And I wanted to add to that real quick. A few months ago, we applied for a Federal Highways grant, a Safe Streets for All grant for a Vision Zero safety plan. We asked for $160,000, and they announced a couple weeks ago that we were awarded that grant. So we don't officially have the money yet. We're going to work through the process over the next few months and then get started on that plan. So that'll be a all-encompassing citywide safety plan, transportation plan. So we'll look at all of our streets. We'll go through crash data. Tony and I have already, Tony left, but we'd already talked about it and are working towards what that will look like. And that, once we have that plan in place, then we can apply through the same grant program for implementation funds to actually complete the projects we find. So there were only 4 cities in Kentucky that were awarded, that applied and awarded the grant. So it was pretty good.
Kudos. Wow, that's good.
Awesome. We have our 2 grant writers right there.
Throwing them out there. Let's see what we can get. Thank you all.
Mr. Dexter, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 22 is an engagement agreement renewal with Sturgill Turner, Barker and Maloney in Lexington, who has served as the city's counsel on various matters from time to time. They primarily advise the city on personnel matters and also on, they're hired by KLC mostly to defend us on different insurable matters in which we're parties to lawsuits. And we also employ their services on various issues from times to times in which they have expertise. And so this agreement was, and we do this periodically, is just a renewal of our engagement with them. It sets out their current rates and the services that they will provide on an as-needed basis to the city.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Motion carries. All right, Mr. Dexter, you're up again.
Thank you, Mayor. The last item for consideration tonight on your regular session is a proposed lease agreement with the Arts Center of the Bluegrass. At your special called meeting, you approved the purchase contract of 415 West Main Street. And that has going to have a perceived or proposed closing date of February the 23rd. And you will view the proposed settlement statement, deed, and closing documents on that date at your special called meeting. And the closing will take place thereafter. Before you is the lease agreement that will be utilized after the city owns the property for the benefit of the Arts Center. That document will entail the rental of the space, full use and occupancy, and the city, like for the federal building, will lease it to the Arts Center for a year. It's the same term. It is a 30-year term, renewable for up to 2 additional consecutive terms thereafter. All fit-up charges and cost modifications will be approved by the city based on engineered and architectural plans. However, the cost will be borne solely by the Arts Center. So they are in charge of the fit-up costs. Again, as the city manager referenced earlier, acquisition of the building was seen as a method in which the city could participate in the overall project and still have an asset in hand after it's all said and done. So the Arts Center will participate by fundraising and other matters and a loan, intend, and what other donations they can receive, and hopefully partnership with the county to provide fit-up costs to employ their plans that they have in place. I do want to comment that utility plans, the cost will be paid by the Arts Center, subject to reimbursement by the city. That's a little bit different than we've done with the federal building, which that lease has been in place for quite some time. We set it up that way because often the city's contribution is somewhat hidden because the city's been paying utility costs for the federal building since its ownership. However, you don't know the full value of your partnership with them because it's just as a part of the city's regular utility payments. This way, they can submit the utility bills that they pay ahead of time for reimbursement during a normal agency allocation process. And I think those are the key terms, unless the city manager has anything else to outline to you of the lease agreement.
Other than you didn't get it.
Oh,
We don't have a copy of it.
And yeah, I thought you were sending it to Ashley too, so I misunderstood. I was
okay.
actually at home when you forwarded that out.
Well, we
So
can-
you explained it and did a great job.
Okay.
And so what we'll do is we'll print it, and then,
Is that why everybody was like looking at their books and not me
Yes.
in
Yes,
that
totally.
presentation? Okay.
And so I
I'll
was
upload it
texting,
into the file.
I was texting her, can you please send that to
Can't believe it's gonna load it.
OneDrive? So you'll get
Very
that, but we'll print you a copy, and then after executive session, if y'all want to take a minute to look at it, we can.
Sure, that'd be fun.
Wait, after what?
If you also choose to go into executive session tonight.
So this is February 23rd,
Correct.
10 a.m.?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So same, and we'll just continue on with the budget meeting that,
Immediately
Particular-
thereafter.
yeah. And you'd stated at one point that the lease agreement would probably be similar to what's happening at the federal building?
In that it is a $1 a year lease agreement. In that term, it's the same. And then, the difference is here too, we have required that the modifications to the premises be done by the Arts Center in term with their specifications and architectural and engineered plans, which you'll get to see at a later point for approval.
So, do we have a motion, or we need a motion?
I don't think, let's delay a motion since you don't have that in your packet.
Okay, all right.
Why don't, as we print a copy for you, we can delay that vote. And then perhaps after executive session, we can vote on if there is an executive session.
Can I ask a question before we go into executive? That
Absolutely.
I forgot to ask earlier. On the building over there that's being demolished, the fire department, just a comment. To a lot of people in Danville, the names on the front are very important. So I hope that that doesn't come down with the walls, if that makes sense.
No,
Can
those
it-
have been something we talked about, trying to
Okay.
figure out how to redeploy some of those. And so we'll continue to do that. I can't remember exactly what the solution was, if we had identified one, but we'll try to recover those.
Just before it comes down, not to see that
We've
go down with
recovered
it.
some of the other, what you would call artifacts, including on the back of the fire station. We took some brick.
There's a
and did
brick,
it.
that's cool.
So we've tried to be considerate of those things, and we'll continue to do that, yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
no, I think that's good to tell people. A lot of people don't realize that there is a brick in the back,
Yeah.
at the back of
Yeah,
the
it's really
fire
cool.
station.
Yeah.
That was an original brick from the old fire station that was put in the wall, right?
Yep, that's
Something
exactly
like
right. And there's the brass. If you go in the front door, the coin that's in the concrete is old as well.
Oh, okay.
Right. That was not something we created. That was something we redeployed. Remember, we had the disc in front of the old city hall?
Right.
That disc in the ground.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And so the Memorial Plaza is the, where we had talked about, and I can't remember, and I'm not going to try to restate it here, but the names are theoretically preserved for the Memorial Plaza.
Right. Just so you can, take them off that wall.
Yep. Yep. Thank you. Personnel request for personnel review for executive session.
Yeah.
Right here. Yeah, I make a motion to go to executive session to discuss personnel matter pursuant to KRS 61810-1F.
I'll second. I seconded, yeah, all in favor?
All those in favor going to executive session, say aye.
Aye.
We're going to executive session.
Aye.
We're back in regular session. City Manager, you have some things you want to share with us?
Staff is recommending the hiring of Logan Galloway to the position of Assistant Water Treatment Superintendent.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Anything
As
else?
the city attorney described before we went into executive session, you've been given a copy of the lease, proposed lease agreement. It's fairly simple. It's like we talked about, it's $1, 30 years renewed opportunity. Do you have any questions in front of you with the document that's in front of you? That's immediate, or do you all want to consider it now?
Chair would like to entertain a motion if you so desire.
What was the resolution number on that? Did you have one? Okay, just approval of the lease.
Is there a motion to approve the lease agreement with the Community Arts Center?
I think it would be wise for us to look it over, or we'll be questioned.
So you are correct, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to table it until our
Next meeting.
meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
So the chair would like to entertain a motion to
Move we adjourn?
go home. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Kevin always said, Jay, you can stay as long as you want to stay. Let me share something with you. Shoot, I just thought about this.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.